Hey guys, what's up? It's Wes. It's late at night. I'm trying to whisper a little bit. Everybody's in bed. But wanted to do a quick video about this topic. It's an interesting topic and it's something that's kind of near and dear to all of our hearts, which is burnout. Well, whenever you're as a creative person, whether you're a painter or a writer or a musician or somebody that just puts themselves out there to create, there can be burnout. And we're going to talk a little bit about kind of recharging those creative batteries and getting your mind right in regards to keeping up some momentum, taking a break, when's a good time, what are some of the signs. So we're just overall going to talk about burnout and how to recharge your mental capacity and creativity. And we're going to do it a little bit different. So normally I will start with a completely blank canvas for a time lapse. But on this one, I was already 3.5, 4 hours in on something. And then I started thinking, hey, this is turning out okay. Let me go ahead and start recording it. So you're actually going to see more finishing touches on this one. And the time lapse may not be as sped up, which is kind of nice because it'll be almost like a real time, not quite real time. It'll be sped up a little bit, but more real time than what we see normally. I speed up my footage by like 700 to 800%, something crazy. But this one should be a little bit more manageable, and you can actually watch it and hopefully pick up some techniques and new stuff that I'm trying. But anyway, let's talk about burnout. Let's talk about recharging your batteries and kind of what works for me, what may work for you, some ideas you may not have thought of. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so here we go. So a little bit of background about this one. I wanted to start making some art more inspired by Dungeons and Dragons directly. So I actually watched a few tutorial videos from some Magic the Gathering and D&D artists, namely Greg Rutkowski and Darkan is another one. And who was the third person I was watching? Oh, Anthony Jones, which I believe he's done some magic art, I believe. But anyway, watching some of their stuff and trying to pick up on some nuance of what they were doing. So instead of watching the tutorials and really just listening to what they're saying, I watched the tutorials more focused on watching. Like, instead of listening, I was watching. And what that means is, how do they manage their layers? How do they maybe have different blending modes, or what kind of brushes would they use for a specific technique? So while they would be narrating some of it, I was trying to look maybe a step deeper and see, okay, I'm at that point. I want to get to that final level. I want to get to that next level to where I can start getting those gigs that I really want. And I know that's been a topic for the past few months on this channel. But, you know, it's always good to kind of push yourself. And I think the whole idea of discussing burnout actually comes into play there. Because if you push yourself too much, too fast, too often, you're going to burn out. It's just going to happen. And it happens to everybody. It happens to me. God, it's happened to me countless times. But like I said before, maybe I said it before, I'm actually doing pretty good now. I've seemed to regulate how much, not effort I put in, that's the wrong term, but how much mental capacity do I always have to work at 110% and be sprinting towards the finish line? Like, I think I've been able over the past year or so to be able to kind of sit back and let the process take over more and just sort of steer the ship and let art happen more so than trying to really dictate exact things and putting myself in a big amount of stress. So let's talk about burnout, but also let's talk about ways to relieve burnout or kind of recharge. I always talk about this metaphor of recharging your artistic battery. There's a saying that you can't pour from an empty bucket. And I think that's very true. At a certain point, you have to fill up your bucket. You have to enjoy things. You have to get motivation. You have to find inspiration. You have to do things that will fuel your creative endeavors. It's easier said than done. I teach art as well. So I have private mentees and stuff like that. And, I've done online classes, and some of this tutorial stuff has helped people, and the YouTube thing and all that. So I can tell you that I see a lot of different type of creative minds and how they work, and I can really just tell you what works for me in regards to burnout. But I can tell you some of the trends that I notice other creative people run into, or maybe habits they pick up that leads them to burnout. And then you can maybe catch yourself early if you're going down that path. So the first one is trying to be quote unquote the best. Like, the goal of being the best artist is a recipe for disaster. Now, I can fully tell you that a good goal is to be a better artist, or a more effective artist, or work on maybe some small minutia stuff. So like, what do I mean by better artist? Art is subjective. You can't really compare art to art. It's the apples and oranges thing. So what I mean is, how effective can you tell the story that you want to tell? With your brushes, how good is your brush economy? Are you using 10 brush strokes where you could use 2? See, that's a thing you could tangibly improve. Your color theory. What is your understanding of color? And I'm actually working on a project right now that deals with that extensively. And I'm realizing the more I learn about color, the less I know about color. It's one of those things that the more you think it's like the reverse Dunning-Kruger effect, I guess. Or maybe it is the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know. It's like, as you learn more, you realize that you don't know anything. And I think we're hitting that point in regards to color and stuff. But the nice thing about that is all of the other stuff is out of my mind. I'm not worried about everything all at once anymore, like I used to be a few years ago. Now it's more, okay, with this piece, I want to work on brushwork. With this piece, I want to work on my edges. On this piece, I want to work on my clarity of shape. On this piece, I want to work on my composition. So like what we're looking at right here, really what I was focused on here is mood. I was focused more on the mood of storytelling, having 2 adventurers kind of buffing themselves up and about to fight a dragon, and just that storytelling idea of, okay, they're up in the mountains, it's kind of a secluded place, there's not a lot of places to run, now they're in it, they're here, they gotta deal with this threat, and just really make sort of the impending, not necessarily doom, but that they have their work cut out for them. And I think that's something that I need to work on just in general with my creative stuff, is my storytelling. Just what am I evoking out of a viewer? Like, if somebody's looking at my art, can they get the story that I want to tell them, or are they getting their own story? Or so it's a little headier than, make sure your lines are straight. That's a technicality. This is more of that bigger picture. How can I be a more effective director? How can I be a more effective interpreter of what's in my mind and putting it down onto a canvas? So that's kind of what the goal was here. But I think breaking up your creative endeavors into those type of goals is going to be a great start. That's going to be a great way to get a lot of that pressure off. And, hey, this time I'm just worried about brushstrokes, man. I'm going to do my still life study. I'm going to paint an apple and just make the best brushstroked apple I can within 2 hours. And then I'm done. And then I put it away, and then I'm done. It's good to set those boundaries. And that actually leads into the next point, which is setting boundaries. I think the people that seem to burn out the hardest and the most often don't set boundaries. So they run into that very down the rabbit hole thing that it does happen to everybody. At a certain point, you're going to run into this if you haven't already, to where you're learning and you're making progress on, my values are better. My darks and my lights make more sense. So now my forms make sense. Well, now that I know that, I wonder, maybe I could start learning 3D. Because 3D, I can use that value study and light stuff. And, but with 3D, I wonder if this has animation built in. Oh, maybe so. Ooh, you know what I could do with the 3D and the animation? I can make my own film. Oh, well, if I make my own film, maybe I might try voice acting. Well, maybe. And you can see how this just starts going crazy. I'm not going to tell you to like tether yourself down to one idea, but you can see how now you went from saying, I'm getting slightly better at my lights and darks, to now I have to do a GoFundMe for an independent film within like 5 minutes. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe that's how my brain works. But be aware that that is something that can happen. And to limit yourself, set a boundary. Be like, listen, I just want to be good at painting comic book covers. And that's it. For right now, I just want to focus just on the comic book cover thing. And just what are some of the techniques I can learn and get better at just to make good Marvel, DC, IDW, Dark Horse, Image, like what are some publishing companies and what are their differences in covers? And let me study that. And then let me try my hand at a few. Like if I were to make this as a Marvel cover, what would that look like? Because that way you're still getting variety and you're still using that part of your brain that's problem solving. And you're being active. You're being very active, in fact, about obtaining your goal. But you're not letting it get the better of you. You still have control over the ship. You're still steering where this journey is taking you. And I think that's important, having the agency and the control over what your artistic destiny is. I know these are like really heady nonsense terms, but you know what I mean. Like, figure out what you want to do and then do it. Don't get side-eyed by the shiny thing. Just focus. And you're going to realize as you focus, you're less likely to burn out because all of your mental capacity is going towards progress instead of this noise that surrounds you. And sometimes noise is good. Sometimes it is, just to kind of keep things fresh or whatever. But I've seen more progress faster in my own work whenever I'm like, okay, my goal now is to be an artist for tabletop role-playing games. And that's my goal. Right now, if I were to say, what is your career path? I want to work on tabletop, whether it's card games or RPGs. That's it. I want to get good at that because that has everything I want. I have to get better at rendering. I have to get better at storytelling. I have to get better at maybe designing, slight design. Depends on the company you work for. Sometimes you're going to create more characters. Sometimes you're going to use a very specific document and work from that, maybe an art Bible or something an art director gives you. But what's nice is, I know the things I need to improve on to get more jobs in that arena. So I'm going to focus on that. And I think that's why I haven't had a real art burnout in probably 10 months. I mean, I'm excited every single day to start a new something, whether it's a sketch or a quick painting or a longer form painting that takes a few days, traditional painting, like it's all serving a purpose. And I think that having that goal and that mental clarity leads to less of a burnout feeling. Something else you can do, don't just produce all the time. Which, this is one of those do as I say, not as I do, because I literally make art every single day. I go crazy if I don't. I have to do something. I have to sketch. I have to, make color value passes. I have to do something. If it's visual arts, in general, I have to do it, or else I feel like I wasted my day. So, but sometimes it's fine to just absorb others people's creations. So watch films, listen to good music, and don't come at it from a thing of, oh wow, well if I was part of this team, this is what I would create and these are the tweaks of it. Don't even come at it as a person that creates something. Come at it as a customer. Come at it as somebody enjoying an experience that was crafted by somebody else. Perfect example is reading books. I was never a big reader. My wife is an incredible reader. She writes books and stuff like that, and she reads over 150 books a year. So she has that skill set down, and it's a skill set that I like the idea of having. I just don't put in the time to learn to do it right, which sounds really weird in regards to reading, but it's a skill set. It's something that once you find the joy and once you find your pace and stuff like that, you can start enjoying it more. But what's nice is it's a passive way to be creative. I'm enjoying the story that's being told to me. However, I do have to make some of those decisions in my head about what this character looks like. Or, oh, as they're saying this line, where are they standing? It's not that I guess I'm interpreting. I'm not necessarily having to create all of this, like go through the thumbnailing and, well, here's the color pass and does this color work? And I don't have to go through the minutia and the grind of making art, but I get that quick hit of like, oh, I'm reading about Aritst and Wolfgar in the Crystal Shard for R.A. Salvatore. Sure, okay, so they're on the mountain and they're about to fight the giants, and the giants are, and then your mind starts coming, and what you end up realizing, or you see a film and you just love the way the film looked, like a David Fincher film. You watch Zodiac, or you watch something and you're just really blown away by how it looked. Your brain is absorbing that. That's becoming part of your visual library. That's becoming something that's going to inform your decision making when you go back to creating. You may not realize it, but it will. It informs you, whether it's a video game you play. I was lucky enough to get a PS5 from a Sony Direct. They have their little queue system that you can like sit in, and hopefully you get in there early and can order one, but I was lucky enough to get one. And I want to say a few days ago, all I did is we hooked up the PS5 and I played PS5 for like 6 hours. Took care of baby and fed him and sat him next to me and re-downloaded, Destiny 2 and played it with the solid state drive, and that thing loads super fast, and I was having a blast, and reinstalled Final Fantasy VII Remake and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and a lot of these, Ghost of Tsushima, and just played, didn't worry about the art stuff, didn't worry about that. But then after I got done with the session, I was more energized, like, oh man, I bet I could make something like Ghost of Tsushima. I bet that cool ninja samurai stuff, oh, that'd be cool. Like, I was more excited about the idea. You know what I mean? So it's a good antidote. It's a good potion to be able to take and give yourself that will kind of clear your head a little bit. Once you feel the enjoyment of the thing, that is going to translate to your creation of your thing. And just know, this is just kind of the metaphorical thing, or kind of the platitudinal, hang in there champ type thing. But your art probably has an effect on somebody like that. Like whenever you post on social media, whenever you share it on your portfolio, whenever you're doing that thing, you never know who's really looking at it. And I tell that to people in regards to jobs. You'd be amazed at how adept art directors are at finding artists. They're very good at that. They are very good. They have eyes everywhere. You never know who's watching. You never know. So just, keep making your stuff, because somebody out there is appreciating it. Even if you get one like, you know what? That was one more like than you had before. I feel the same with my art. Sometimes gets 3 or 4 likes, and sometimes it gets 300 to 400. And it's funny because I never know which one's going to be which. And I don't know. Like, maybe that's a thing to talk about with Burnout. A lot of people try to chase the clout of, oh, here's a thing that's popular. Here's a thing on social that seems to be resonating. So maybe I should do that. And then you do it and it doesn't get a lot of traction. And then you're like, well, I guess I'm no good at this art thing. And then you start getting in your own head. And ironically, the place you don't want to be whenever you're in the process of creating your art is in your own head, second guessing your decisions. Is this the right one? Oh, because I used purple, am I going to get less likes than if I used green? But what if I change the hue and saturation? People on social like more saturated colors, right? That's like this YouTube thumbnail. I can do a quick color pass and make it pop a little more. That'll get more traction on my views, won't it? Once you start thinking about that, what are you doing? You're trying to like talk to an algorithm instead of painting the thing. Like, just make your stuff. Just make it. We've talked about this before on the channel, but your part of this equation in your transaction is you create the thing. Other people look at the thing. That's it. That's your transaction. That's your handshake with your fan base, with your audience, with your potential fans, who knows? But your part is to make the thing. It's not to experience it. It's not to manipulate it in such a way to get the highest amount of traction. Like, who cares about that stuff? Just make your stuff. Get better at your craft. Really dig in. And that brings us back to that focus point. Just focus. Focus on the thing that you know you want to get good at. Because you know, deep down you know. I know you know. I'm smiling now because I know you know. You know what you need to work on. You can't hide from it. It's gonna bother you. It's gonna bother you. And I would say a great way to get out of burnout is improve at that thing. Maybe that's the reason you're not picking up the paintbrush. Maybe that's the reason you're not writing. Maybe that's whatever. The reason why you're not taking your photos is you know you need to improve on a thing and you're scared to just come face to face with it because you're bad at it. I get it. I'm bad at a lot of stuff, art included. You know what I mean? One day I'll get good. I always think that. Whenever people talk about, they might say very nice, humbling things to me, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, just wait until I get good. Wait, just you won't even believe what you get to see once I'm good at painting. There's always that. There's a famous quote from Akira Kurosawa, and I've brought this up on the channel before. But if you haven't seen his stuff, you need to. He made Yojimbo and Sanjuro, The Seven Samurai, Hidden Fortress. One of the best directors who has ever lived. He literally made some of the best films in history. Hidden Fortress literally was Star Wars before Star Wars. And George Lucas will tell you that same thing. And just incredible. And Akira Kurosawa himself said, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he said, the only reason he continues to create things is because he hopes next time he actually makes something good. So even he had the imposter syndrome. He had that. So, hey, if you got it, if you're hard on yourself, if you think you don't got what it takes, congratulations, you're an artist. You're there, man. Welcome to the club. You got the VIP access. I'm going to lift the red velvet little, in the clubs where the bouncers lift up the thing and the person feels fancy. Come on in, man. You are fancy. Like, you're right there in it. So wear it as a badge of honor. Know that you have improvements you need to make. And we talked about this in the Q&A section in that video. And if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest going to see it. There's a lot of this type of advice in that one. But you have to remember that professionals have failed more than amateurs have even tried. So just get out there and just make stuff. And I do think that's going to help the burnout because you're going to start enjoying the process again. And I think at the end of the day, it usually comes back to that. Burning out usually means you realize that the effort it takes to do a thing is not worth the outcome, in your opinion. Like, oh, I would make art, but man, I'm just in a rut lately. I just, my paint strokes and the colors look wrong, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to sit down for 4 to 5 hours and make a thing. And it's going to turn out like crap. No one's going to like it on social. It's not going to hit. I'm not going to get any jobs. I'm not good enough to get hired. You start once again getting in your own headspace. And that's not your job. Your job is to not to second guess yourself. Don't do that. It's not up to you. Just make stuff. Keep making it. Keep producing. I have a good friend who actually went on social media, and this is a pretty big artist. And they were nervous about applying for Magic the Gathering. They're like, should I apply? Should I apply? And I was like, absolutely, man. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no? You already don't work for them. So, what's going to... Who cares? And then I said something, and I tell this to my students as well. Be too stupid to take no for an answer. I'm dumb. I will keep doing it over and over and over. People will be like, no, man, you got to calm down. You're not quite there. Great. I'll see you in 3 months. Just be too stupid to stop. Just be dumb. It's fine. So, there's another cool thing. This goes back to playing video games or watching movies. I also really like listening to director's commentary on movies. I think the Lord of the Rings films is maybe the best version of this. It's behind the scenes and all that stuff. But seeing other creative people talk about their process usually inspires me. I can't tell you how many times I've had other painters on my YouTube just on autoplay for like 15 hours a day, where I just hear their problem solving. And they're like, oh, we did this and we did this, and I had to go and we did the art gallery stuff and we did this, and then I had to ship the painting this way and get cellophane wrap. And just hearing problem solving inspires me for some reason, because I'm like, oh, they figured it out, maybe I can figure it out. And then you dive back in, But overall, a lot of this just stems from the place of just understand your part in the overall grand scheme of creating. Like, your part is you bring your voice, not someone else's voice. It's fine to try to emulate. It's try to find another style. It's fine. That's fine to do. But at the end of the day, what that ends up doing is refining your style. And that's the point. Once you find your way of solving problems, you're going to realize that burnout doesn't happen as much. And if it does, it's for a different reason. It's less for like, oh, I can't paint, and more like, man, all this other parts of the job and emailing people and invoicing and all that. Maybe, man, that stuff's rough. That's a full-time job, just doing the paperwork. And, but that's good whenever the art is the thing that you look forward to. It's a far cry from the days of like beating yourself up because you don't think you have what it takes. Now you know you have what it takes. It's just a matter of, well, today, got to put in my reps. Gotta go, play catch. I gotta go do that type of, I gotta lift weights. I gotta, you get in that mentality of exercising every day and then using art as your exercise. Okay, gotta draw my cubes in perspective. Just gotta do it. Because I never know when, if I get rehired for Warhammer and they want me to paint a tank coming up a hill. Guess what that is? It's a bunch of cubes in perspective. So I gotta get ready. You're just training. You're just training for that prize fight. And I think that's a healthier way to go about it. It has been for me, at least. But anyways, those are just a few examples of ways that I combat burnout. It still happens from time to time, but like I said, I haven't had a full burnout phase in probably 10 or 11 months. Yeah, really. And I mean, I'm busier now than I've ever been in regards to the art stuff. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about yet, but I will probably around December-ish, I think, is when some of the NDAs lift for this stuff. But just know it's going well. It's going really well. And I'm excited. I'm happy. And I'm excited for you guys to see what's going on, because I think it's going to blow a few minds. I know it blew my mind whenever I got the email. But anyways, that's my time. Let me know in the comments, what do you do to combat burnout? Do you just not touch art for a few days or weeks, or, do you just listen to your favorite music or watch your favorite movies? Do you play games? Do you just, go walk out in nature? Like, what do you do? How do you recharge your internal creative battery? Because everyone has their own method. And I think having a variety of methods down in the comments is going to help. It's going to help people, because maybe a lot of people might not think like me. They don't want to hear director commentary. They don't want to, they don't want to do that. No, if I want to be away from creativity, I want to be away from it. And that's totally fine. That's great. And just let us know in the comments. I think that's going to start some cool conversations. But that's my time. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed this painting. I just posted it on my portfolio not too long ago. So if you want to see the full-size 4K thing, you can go check that out. But yeah, all the links to my socials and print stores and all that stuff in the description below. But I appreciate all of you very much. And until we meet again, you guys go make some cool stuff. And we'll see you next time. Peace.